My horrible parents acted like I didn't exist my entire childhood, and now they're asking for money. Growing up, I felt more like a background object than a child. My parents were always there, but never really present. They fed me, clothed me, and made sure I went to school. But that was it. No hugs. No, how was your day? No interest in my hobbies, my grades, or my feelings. If I tried to talk, they acted annoyed, like I was interrupting something important. I learned very early to stay quiet. They went to all my older siblings' events. Sports games, award ceremonies, birthdays were big deals for them. Mine were forgotten or brushed off. One year, they completely forgot my birthday, until a neighbor mentioned it. I got a rushed sorry and a leftover cake from the fridge. When I was sad, I was told I was being dramatic. When I was proud of something, I was told not to get a big head. When I struggled, I was told to figure it out myself. By the time I was a teenager, I stopped trying. I worked part-time jobs, saved my own money, and planned my escape. The moment I turned 18, I moved out for college and barely looked back. They didn't help financially, didn't call to check in, didn't visit. Sometimes months would go by without a single message. Honestly, it hurt, but it also made it easier to let go. After college, I worked hard and built a stable life. Nothing flashy, but comfortable. I have friends who feel more like family than my actual parents ever did. Then, out of nowhere, I got a call. It was my mom. She sounded friendly, almost warm. I thought maybe something was wrong. Maybe someone was sick. Nope. She told me they were struggling financially. Bills piling up. Retirement didn't go as planned. Then she said, "You're doing well now, right? We're your parents. We need your help." I just sat there in silence. These were the same people who ignored me my entire childhood. The same people who never showed up, never supported me, never cared when I needed them most. And now, suddenly, I existed again, because they needed money. When I didn't respond immediately, my dad jumped in and said I owed them for raising me, for everything they sacrificed. Something in me snapped. I told them calmly that they did the bare minimum legally required of them. That parenting was more than food and a roof. That I spent my whole life feeling invisible, and I wasn't going to drain myself for people who treated me like I didn't matter. They got angry, said I was ungrateful, said family helps family. I told them family also shows up. I said no. Now extended relatives are calling me selfish, saying I should be the bigger person. But for the first time in my life, I chose myself. And honestly, I don't regret it. So now I'm being labeled the villain. My parents told the rest of the family that I abandoned them and refused to help when they were struggling. They conveniently left out the part where they emotionally abandoned me for my entire childhood. My phone hasn't stopped buzzing. Aunts, uncles, cousins, people who barely spoke to me growing up are suddenly very concerned about family values. They say I should be grateful I was raised at all, that I owe my parents everything. But here's what keeps running through my head. When I cried myself to sleep as a kid, they weren't there. When I needed guidance, comfort, or encouragement, they weren't there. When I worked 2 jobs to survive in college, they weren't there. Yet now that I'm financially stable, suddenly I matter. I told my relatives the same thing I told my parents. If they feel so strongly about helping, they're welcome to open their own wallets. Funny enough, that ended most of the conversations. I blocked my parents after they sent me a long message about how I owed them and how they were disappointed in who I became. For the first time, I felt free. So here I am, being called cold, selfish, and heartless for refusing to support the people who made me feel invisible my entire life. AETA, for refusing to give money to the parents who ignored me growing up, even if it means they struggle